Good Monday morning, everybody. How we doing out there?
Good morning.
Rainbows and sunshines.
All right, Martin. I see sunshine out my window. Who wants to get us started? Positive weekend. What happened? What's good in your life? Come on, somebody's got to have something. We might need to practice some gratitude every morning on this call. Come on, I need a hand raiser. All right, buddy. What do you got?
A couple of slack leads end up being really, really well. We're probably going to be putting in offers in this week. So that was a win,
All right.
So then we got to go see Kenny Chesney. I was expecting to see you there.
Oh, you got to go to the concert?
Yeah. I thought Zach Brown was so much better, though, than Kenny. Just my opinion.
I'm in agreement. I don't know. What night did you go?
We went last night.
All right. Did he cover Sabotage?
Yes. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan, and you don't hear country singers cover Beastie Boys, so that was a cool little surprise. So awesome. Yeah, I mean, gotta love it when you pick up a new client and you show them one house and they're writing an offer. So can you talk to us a little bit about how the buyer agent agreement conversation went with those guys, Martin?
Yeah, I kind of told them straight, first we had a conversation over the phone, and then like the day before I was going to go see them and say, hey, listen, by the way, there's some new rules. Just kind of explain it to them. I always send an article if they want. I have a US News one that's pretty straightforward, really short, not biased at all, that, I sent to clients, and it's kind of like, okay, I understand. I have yet to have anybody give me any, negative feedback about it.
So I like the U.S. News one, Martin. If you're in a position and you could put that in the chat, and maybe we can get it added at Roby to our text templates, because I think you got to figure it's unbiased over there. When we're using the National Association of Realtors one, but if you see something from U.S. News, that might be a little bit more removed from our industry to help a client understand. So. If you could, if you're in a position, post it. Otherwise, maybe you can get it over to me throughout the day, and I'll get it out to the group.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm driving, so
yeah,
I'll get it out.
No worries. Did you do a one property? Did you do a 1 week? Did you do a 6 month? What'd you do?
My first one's always a 1 day, and then every time I've done a 1 day, the following one is just we'll do for 90 days. And it seems, because I figure the 1 day, if there's less, people aren't like, oh my God. It's like, listen, it's just this 1 day, just this one property. We get to know if you like me, if I like you, if you want to work together. Simple as that, just a little conversation.
So you've gone from 1 day to 90 days. And when did you hit them with the 90 days? Was it a week later? Was it a couple of days later?
It's usually for the next showing.
Okay, so whenever that is.
Correct. It's usually within a week.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a different strategy, or let's just talk strategy here? What's working for people? I like that. Hey, here's a 1 day. No big commitment here. And then next time we go out, we have a deeper conversation. Is somebody doing it different? You want to share?
I call it the first date one.
What's that?
It's our first date, and then you can tell me if you want to go out again.
Yeah, good. Are we all doing it? Can we get some thumbs up? Is this what's kind of becoming common practice? Is one property, 1 day, and then let's get a second one? Good. Okay. Anybody else have a win to share? Did your hand go up, Val? Or I see Nicole, your hand up too. Go ahead, Nicole.
Not a win. I just wanted to comment on the contract, just everybody keep in mind, if you're doing a 1-day contract, they can go sign with someone else the next day and put an offer in on the property you showed them. So usually I would say narrow it down to just that property, but keep it at least, 30 days for the time frame. They're still only locked in on that property with you, but at least, if they're putting an offer in on that, they'll be working with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess at that point, if you're going to do 1 day, I mean, maybe it's 3 or 6 months. I mean, if you're going to do one property, I'm sorry. Because I guess it could get a little dicey there if you did a 1 day, you didn't specify that property, and then, a week later they're writing an offer with somebody else. Can you offer, or can you argue that you were procuring cars, that you show the property first? I mean, maybe. But I definitely think it's safer to just make sure, like Nicole is saying, if you're doing 1 day, it's also, or if you're doing one property, it's for a period, 3 months, 6 months. Hey, I'm showing you this, and if in the future, if you want to write an offer on this, I'm going to be your agent. So any thoughts on that, Martin? Would you change up what you're doing or how you're doing based on that feedback?
I guess I would have to feel out the client. Because I put the property address in there and everything. So, I mean, I understand, I get Nicole's point too.
Yeah.
So even
I
if
don't
you
think
put the property address, it says right on the contract that if they sign with somebody else, they don't owe you a commission.
Yes, I think we could be getting ourselves in trouble for 1 day. I think it's better to go one property and then a period of time, 3 months, 6 months. They shouldn't really have an issue signing for a long period of time on one property. So, and Nicole, you kind of threw out 30 days. I mean, what are your thoughts on 3 months or 6 months?
I always start with 6 months. And then if you need to narrow it down to property. And then if they still push back, you got to dig on why they're pushing back, because if they're not willing to sign with you for the property you're showing them, they might have someone else in mind that they're going to work with. So
Yeah.
I always start with 6 months, but if you really want to, if they seem like they're going to work with you, you can obviously go down to at least 30 days, I would say, though.
Good. Margareta.
Good morning, all. I'm curious what your thoughts about this is on the subject. I had a bit of a conversation about this, and somebody suggested to use facilitator form for showing for the first time. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't be facilitators. I was in disagreement of them. But as we get into the subject, I wonder if that might be the better form to use. Because facilitator form is used for I think there's still the time frame that you can say you cannot, I still have hold on this for whatever days.
The problem with the facilitator, Margareta, is you're not representing them, right? You're just facilitating the transaction. I think buyers are looking for representation. So if you really look into the wording, if you're talking about agency disclosure in Massachusetts, the facilitator does not provide representation.
And that was my point to them, and they were arguing with me, because I'm like, I want to be the company on record. I want to be the the agent on record. And why? And my other point was if you use a facilitator form, are you going to get compensated? Because a lot of times facilitators don't get compensated, even though with current situation, the person was arguing with me would be, it's negotiable. But I'm like, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, now they could be, mixing up some words, facilitator and a touring or showing agreement. So those are you are providing representation, but you're agreeing to no compensation a lot of times on that form. I think some of them will have a compensation line and some of them won't. But again, that should be absolute last resort to show a property and still meet the regulation of I got a buyer's agreement. But they're very loosey-goosey, those showing and touring agreements, where you might not get compensated. So I really would like to see you guys pushing for buyer agreements, one property. And I think, like we discussed, let's go for 6 months. And if they push back on that, 3 months, and worst case, 30 days. So I like that as kind of the standard. Does anybody want to throw out a situation where that might not be the way to go? And again, I think Nicole is speaking from a good bit of experience because she was managing our Connecticut region that's been doing this for a while. So, I think they've probably had a lot of these conversations already. They know kind of the typical pushbacks and where you don't get pushback. And hey, for this property, for this period of time, if I'm going to show it to you, I should be your agent, right? All right. Anybody have any just other wins, general roundtable questions for today? Experience share that you had over the weekend or on a deal that would be good for the group to hear. Go ahead, Shaston.
Yeah, so I had a gal that I met at an open house about 9 months ago. She was looking in the area. She lives here, but she has a home she needs to sell. We kind of briefly spoke about the home, but she said she's a little ways out and she wanted her daughter to be involved in the process. And I've been following up, just kind of staying in front of her. I've got her on the seller nurture, just sending her, updates every now and again. But she reached out to me last night and said that her daughter's flying in this week and they want to go out and see properties. And she's telling me what she's looking for. But she says her daughter wants to be close to the airport. So I had her clarify, is it the daughter purchasing or she's purchasing? And she said, we're both purchasing 2 homes. And then she said that she needs to sell her home. So she asked me to come over so we can start the process for like a market analysis. So this is someone that she's not very responsive. Like she responds, occasionally if like she catches like a drip email or something, or just like an update I send out, or, I text her all the time, not all the time, but at least once a month, and she might occasionally respond. So someone that, I can tell she was just a little further out, but she said the push is what she's been hearing lately about the rates coming down. And she said she wants to take advantage of that for selling the home as well as for buying the new one. So I thought that it was pretty cool because, again, you kind of lose faith in those ones that don't really speak too much, but they're still kind of there. So it's always, amazing when they reach out of the blue and they say, yep, we're ready to go. So I thought it was very fun or very cool last night.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's this business, right? You just never know when these people are going to actually be ready. And the people that are ghosting you, or the communication line isn't very high, it doesn't mean they can't be a serious buyer or seller in the future. It's just right now in their life, real estate is not the priority. Something else is taking over their life. It's their job, it's their family, it's their health, it's buying a car. Something else is top priority. That's all it is. And I can think of so many times in my life where I've reached out about something, and maybe I was just kind of curious, and then it wasn't top priority. And that person's not reaching out to me, but even if they had, I'm probably not responding, right? There's a bunch of softwares over the years that, maybe I've demoed, and then, yeah, it's just probably not the right time to change our CRM, right? But that person's reaching out or not reaching out, and I was there, and then I'm not there, but I'm coming back at some point, so just stay in touch. Patricia.
This Saturday, something happened and it never happened before. A client got locked in a bathroom in a house, and it was very hard to open the door. So I called the listing agent. She couldn't get in touch with the seller. So after like 20 minutes, she told me I should call locksmith, but I ended up calling 911. So they were on their way to come when the husband was able to open the door. So I just wanted to know what's the right thing to do in a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you handled it pretty good. I've never had somebody get locked in because typically the bathroom lock, it should lock from the inside. Did this one, did the lock just jam up, or do you know what ended up happening?
There was no lock, it was just the handle, and the handle wouldn't, move the thing. So
Okay.
and nothing would happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think we've all had it. There's just those door handles. Sometimes you just turn them and they're not quite moving the thing, or they're not moving it far enough, and it's just twisting it just right and jiggling it just right to get it out. So I don't know if anybody else has any other advice, but on what they've done in a situation like that, or anybody else have something. It's a great share, because this is the weird stuff that does happen. But yeah, I think locksmith and I guess 911 would be the, I think they're going to kind of do the same thing. They're going to have you jiggle that door. I don't know that they're going to like force entry. I don't think anybody's life was in danger. They're just kind of stuck in there. I did see at the gym this morning, there was like 12 NFL football players somewhere in the world that got stuck in an elevator for about 2 hours, and they had to like pull them out of some panel or something. So seems like they would be over the weight limit. 12 NFL guys in an elevator. Yeah, what do you got?
I saw that too. So I got a client who wants to see a mobile home today, and it's like an entry only. It's a weird one, but basically there is no compensation for a buyer agent being offered whatsoever. They're offering a $150 referral fee. But my question is, should I still have the exclusive sign for a mobile home? Is that still is it still the same procedure? Basically.
Yeah, the answer is yes. You're definitely going to want a buyer's agreement. And you're going to obviously try and get comp out of your buyer if the seller's not willing to do it. And you've had hey, if we came to an agreement at 100,000 and I got you 105, we can't get the seller to pay the 5,000 towards my fee or something like that.
No, I haven't had that conversation yet.
Okay.
It was because it was an entry only mobile home. It was very difficult to actually get the showing. It took me,
Gotcha.
a day and a half to get the actual showing set, which happened this morning at 8:08. So,
Gotcha.
I just didn't know, because it's technically a mobile home and not really, real property. It's, I just wanted to confirm that was what I'm supposed to be doing. And, I guess my other question is, the only reason I'm kind of pursuing it and not just pushing it away is because she has a house that she might want to sell as well if she does get this under contract. So, obviously worth my time and effort on the buy side. But, if there is no compensation and she can't afford to pay me, like, do I just take the 150 referral fee and split it with the brokerage, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the scenario is that you think there's going to be a listing that comes out of this, I think it's worth your time. I just personally, I think it's worth our time to do every deal that we can, no matter what. I've just never turned down a deal. I've done so many deals for so little money, and I just feel like it's the right way to do it. You've got somebody who wants to make, an offer. They need representation. Sometimes, Martin got 2 leads today that he might show him one house and, put them under contract, and we get overpaid. And then there's scenarios like this where we get underpaid. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. And I do feel like it always comes back around somehow, some way. And it could be a decade later, Pat. Unfortunately, there in this industry, it's not always immediate gratification, but I think that doing the right thing is always the right thing. And yeah. But,
I'm not worried about, that. I'm not necessarily saying I wouldn't want to do the deal. I'm saying, like, I want to make sure that if I do the mobile home deal and I only get $150 referral fee, that you guys aren't like, hey, where's our broker's commission?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's all. I just want to make sure that I'm not like, I don't really know how that would work, is all I'm saying. So
yeah. Look, some brokerages definitely have a minimum to do a deal, and I've just never believed in that. I've always believed in, if the agent's willing to work for it, I'm willing to back you as a broker, because sometimes you got to cut a deal. Right? It just is. Sometimes it's a low price property. Sometimes you got an underprivileged buyer. Sometimes you've got a builder that's going to give you 6 properties over the next 2-3 years. You're going to have to cut a deal here or there. Right? So you got to look at the whole picture. And you got to trust yourself and what your worth is. Even if you're a newer agent, right? But you're got an opportunity to do a high-end listing. Maybe you got to take it for less, right? Are you worth what a 10-year veteran is worth? I think there's an argument that you could say you're not. So how are you charging what a 10-year, right? And the attorney thing seems to be the big thing going with this Catchmark guy and the fees that he's charging. I see the latest thing is calculating his hours at $1,500 an hour, where he put out there that the real estate industry was the one taking advantage of the sellers. He's got 7,000 hours he's claiming into that lawsuit. Wants like $10 million, which comes out to like $1,500 an hour or something crazy, but can some attorneys charge more than others because they've got a track record? Sure. So as a real estate agent, if you're a little bit better negotiator, you got a little bit better relationships, are you worth a little bit more? I think so. Oh, great share, Pat. Who else has got something? I will tell you, I mean, if you haven't happened to you yet, kind of along the lines of locked door with Patricia, just always be knocking, always vacant. You think a property's vacant, you got a closed door, always knock. Just, hey, it's a real estate agent. I'm here for a showing. Just want to make sure there's nobody home. Just give one of those every time that you're going into a property, you're going into a closed door. You don't need to be walking in on anything or putting yourself in a weird position. So, or your client's in a weird position. So always give that knock and a little yell. Who else has got something? What do I got in my, I had something here about multis, and we've touched on this a little bit, but I guess it came up again. Please be careful when you're doing multifamily deals on how many legal units that you have. Just because it looks like a 3-family, smells like a 3-family, it might not be a 3-family, right? Or a 4-family, or whatever the case might be. So you really want to dot your I's, cross your T's, check with the building department, check with the assessor's office, check what the zoning is for the property. Then you're checking the utilities. Does it have separate electric, separate gas? All of these things can contribute, and you just don't want to be selling a 3 or a 4 that, hey, it's really only zoned for a 2, and now your people buy it and the town comes back and says, hey, that 3rd floor, and that's typically what it is. It's these 3 families and their 3rd floor got converted. So not so much with the 4s, but that 3rd floor gets converted and it was illegally converted. And now you've got the town saying, hey, you can't rent that 3rd floor. You can make it part of the 2nd unit, but you can't run this as a 3-family. I'd hate to have that happen to one of your clients. Martin. You're muted, buddy.
All right, so my situation is it was originally single family, got converted with the town to a 2-family. The seller bought it, did some, redid the 1st floor. The egress is no longer there, the 2nd egress. Upstairs is nothing but walls because they never had a chance to finish it because the seller's husband passed away, whatever. Bank wants them to convert it now on paper to a single family and open up, it's just a temporary wall, open up that temporary wall. Obviously, the seller wants to close as soon as possible because they're moving. Any suggestions? I was thinking about putting the money that would cost to put the wall into escrow so we can at least close quickly. The seller's willing to do that for free, which is good for my buyer, but then I'm not too sure how the bank's going to do, well, what about the paperwork? Because they have nothing in escrow.
Sure. Let me just get some clarity on this one before we dive in. And first of all, Martin mentioned a term in there that I did not mention when figuring out if you got a legal 3, and that is means of egress, right? You need 2 means of egress in most jurisdictions, 2 means of egress for every unit. Right, so that's another thing to be looking at. Do you have 2 ways to get out of the property? Sometimes they're going to allow some sort of a ladder coming out of a window or something like that, but most of the times you're going to need, full set of stairs. That's another thing to consider when you're looking at multiple units. Okay, so back to your situation. It sounds like the property is currently being utilized as a 2-family.
It's not being the second floor is not being used at all, and my buyer's not going to be using it as a 2-family. They're going to use it for their business upstairs. So for them, this property was perfect. Upstairs just has walls, no kitchen, no nothing.
Okay, but it was converted over with the town, is what you were saying, right?
Correct.
And so the mortgage company has an issue with it being that's converted over, and they want it converted back where they won't do the loan.
Yes, let's just put it. They don't want it to identify as a 2-family. They want it to identify as a 1-family.
Okay, and in order to do that, a wall needs to come down.
Yeah, it's a temporary wall anyway, and the buyer was already willing to do it, but I'm like, hold off before she does anything over the weekend, because I want to talk to the bank, say, hey, listen, if we put money in escrow for the amount it's going to cost to take off the wall, can we still close quicker? Because I want to make sure we can close as quickly as possible. Or do I just say, hey, listen, can we take down the wall, take a picture, and then have the buyers worry about the paperwork and still close? But I know with banks, it's always about, having money in escrow to make sure something gets done.
Exactly. Right. And that's the key point here is the banks want to know that whatever they want done is guaranteed to get done. Right. So when we hold money in escrow, or we have a contract with a roofer or a cider or whatever that needed to be done, that the work is going to be done and they're going to get paid out of that escrow money. Most banks tend to be okay with that. So I think you're on the right track here, Martin, which is see if the bank is willing to allow the money to be put in escrow. That way there we know where that money is going to go and what it's going to be used for, and if they're okay with that. If they're not, it sounds like you said that the seller is going to be willing to do it.
Yes, but it's like I'd rather have the seller do, because it doesn't, that way we don't have to about who's going to be paying to take the wall taken down. And I'm kind of hoping that they say, yeah, just take the picture of it, and then they'll have something signed with the buyer saying that, listen, that you have X amount of time to do the paperwork for, switching it from a 2-family to a 1-family.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Hopefully the lender is just going to allow the money into escrow. Remember, anytime we're doing that, the bank is typically going to want 1.5 times. So we need an estimate. Hey, it's going to be $1,000 to do this work. We're going to put $1,500 aside in escrow just in case we uncover some stuff while we're doing the work that it ends up costing a little bit more.
All right, because I already got the estimate over the weekend, so that's done.
Good. Anybody else have any questions about putting money in escrow or delaying work to post closing? Anybody have a quick share around this topic? Hey, this was kind of unique. I did this to save a deal. This is how we got it done. All right, because you really need to have this tool in your tool belt when it seems like you're at an impasse. You can't get a deal done. The seller doesn't have any money, right? They're willing to do it, but I don't have any money to do it. So how do we get it done with the money that is the equity that's in the house? And this is, and sometimes you might have to change lenders, because one lender says, I'm not willing to do that. And you get another lender says, yeah, no problem. Put the $5,000 in escrow. As long as we know that XYZ contracting company has a contract to do the work post-closing and the money's there, we're good with that. So having a flexible lender on this stuff. So don't just, if one lender says no, don't take no for an answer there. Let's try another lender if there's no other way to get the deal done. Good. Good variety of stuff today. I hope you guys get your week started well, and we'll talk to you all again tomorrow morning. Have a great Monday.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Steve.